In the heart of the Indonesian archipelago lie the Banda Islands, part of the fabled Maluku, the only place on Earth where nutmeg and cloves once grew. In the 15th century, lush tropical forests blanketed the land, where native farmers harvested the aromatic treasures of nature by hand. Unaware of the global storm their islands would soon summon, Malukan canoes glided gracefully over crystal waters, carrying baskets of spice to nearby islands and beyond. Long before Europeans arrived, these local traders had woven themselves into a vast network stretching to Java, India, and Arabia, a maritime silk road of scent and flavor. In the bustling coastal markets of Ternate and Tidore, spices were exchanged for textiles, ceramics, and stories. Sultans ruled over powerful spice kingdoms, connected to Islamic trade routes and Indian Ocean commerce, forming a vibrant, decentralized economy. From Maluku, spice traveled west, aboard Arab dhows, Indian caravans, and Chinese junks. Before it ever reached European palates, it passed through a dozen cultures, each adding value, mystery, and legend to its journey. In 1512, the Portuguese reached the edge of the known world. Their tall ships, armed with cannons and ambition, dropped anchor at Ternate. To the islanders, these pale-skinned strangers brought both novelty and threat. Trade began, but so did manipulation. The sultans struck cautious deals with the newcomers. Gold was traded for gunpowder, spices for promises, but every alliance came with a price, and foreign flags soon followed commerce into sovereignty. By the early 1600s, the Dutch East India Company, the VOC, sought to dominate the spice trade entirely. In candlelit war rooms, they plotted how to wrest control from Portugal and from the native rulers who stood in their way. The Dutch arrived in Banda not just to trade, but to conquer. Fortresses rose from the soil, and islanders watched as power shifted from one foreign hand to another, each more ruthless than the last. Naval battles lit the seas with cannon fire. The Banda Sea became a chessboard for empire, as Portuguese and Dutch ships clashed, not for territory, but for cloves and nutmeg. The Dutch enforced brutal monopolies. Villages that resisted were burned. Populations were massacred or exiled. The Spice Islands, once thriving and independent, were reduced to plantation economies under foreign rule. The VOC built massive fortresses, like Fort Belgica, as symbols of dominance. They were not just walls of stone, but prisons of sovereignty. Inside, silence reigned. Outside, resistance smoldered. Local leaders who dared to defy VOC control were imprisoned or executed. In dark cells, behind damp walls, the dreams of self-rule faded, but were never extinguished. From Batavia to Amsterdam, Lisbon to Venice, the route was long. Ships rounded the Cape of Good Hope, carrying cloves worth more than gold, loaded under watchful eyes. This was not mere trade. This was the engine of empire. At Batavia, the VOC's Asian headquarters, crates of nutmeg and cinnamon flowed endlessly onto ships. The docks bustled with merchants from across Asia, all funneling wealth into Dutch coffers. Even in distant Muscat, the air was scented with Banda's nutmeg. Arab and Indian traders bartered for the East's treasures, unaware that every grain had been stained by blood. In Venice, spice merchants sat in opulent chambers, weighing nutmeg like jewels. European elites paid fortunes for the rare flavors, never knowing the names of the islands or the people who grew them. In noble kitchens, women ground nutmeg into sauces and sweets, savoring the taste of the exotic. Behind every pinch was a shipwreck, a battle, a forgotten village. Spices transformed from medicine to luxury. In Amsterdam's spice markets, barrels overflowed. The VOC grew into the world's first multinational corporation, backed by stockholders and soldiers alike. As Enlightenment ideas spread, so did curiosity about the world. In lecture halls, students learned of the East Indies and the science of spices, a sanitized version of a bloody truth. Today, the Banda Islands are quiet. Children play near the ruins of old forts. Nutmeg still grows in the sun, as it did centuries ago, but the world has forgotten how much it once desired this place. In European museums, glass jars and rusted VOC coins lie behind glass. Labels speak of trade, not conquest, but the truth lingers, waiting to be remembered. The spice routes have evolved. Ships are faster, goods are digital. Yet the story of Maluku reminds us, globalization is not new, and neither are its consequences. From a handful of trees and forgotten islands, the modern world was stirred into motion. The aroma of power still lingers.